Hello, that was the St. Louis Rag by Tom Turpin, as arranged by David Blackwell. This is the C2 piece of the ABRSM Grade 3 Flute Exam pieces from 2022. Taking a look at the style of the piece, we are in 4/4 time, so we have 4 crotchets in a bar. We have 2 sharps in the key signature, which means we are in D major. We do have some accidentals, especially towards the later half of the piece, but those are more to do with creating chromaticism, which is quite common in 20th century music, where this piece was composed. We have some C sharps and F sharps for the D major. So for F sharps, we have everything on our left hand but the pinky, and on the right hand we have forefinger and pinky. And for the C sharp, we are playing with just the pinky on our right hand. Here is a D major to 2 octaves as required for your grade 3 scales. In the accidentals, we have A sharps, D sharps, and G sharps. On the F sharp, the left hand we have thumb and first finger. On the right hand we have first finger and pinky. On the G sharp, we have everything on our left hand and just the pinky on the right hand. And the D sharp, the register we are playing, we are going to have everything on our right hand. On the left hand, we have thumb, third finger, and fourth finger. And also here is a chromatic scale starting from G for 1 octave, also required for your grade 3 scales. We have quite a few snippets of the chromatic scale in the piece, so it's good to learn it beforehand. We have written here that the speed is allegretto at crotchets equal 120 beats per minute, so we are going at a fairly brisk pace. So this is the kind of speed we'll be aiming to get to when we get to the exam. As there are lots of semiquavers and dotted quavers rhythm, you may want to double the speed of your counting, so we're counting in quavers instead. Of course, when you're practicing, you can go slower to get the rhythm right in the first place and then slowly speed up. This piece is in AABB form, so once you get the main idea of the A and the B sections, then this piece is quite simple. The first section is in bar 5 to bar 12. The second A section starts off the same, but differs in the last 4 bars. We're skipping the repeats here to go straight to 2, instead of playing 1, repeating back to bar 5, and then playing again. So we're just going to go straight from the upbeat to bar 13 until we get to the bracket 2 of bar 20. Then we have the B section where we hear it for the first time in bar 21 to 28. And then we play for another time. Again, we have the same start and then a different end, and we're also skipping the repeats as well as we did for the A section. Let's have a look at the technical aspects of the piece. We are using a lot of syncopated rhythms in this piece, which means we have notes which we emphasize either accent notes or in this case longer notes on the weaker beats, the am beat, instead of being on the beat. Now what this does is this creates kind of a speeding up effect which we want to go faster and faster until we resolve it, and essentially having the note which emphasize on the beat exactly. We can see this coming in through bar 5 till 7, where in bar 5 we have two crotchet length notes, one in the second and one in the third and. So we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then in bar 6 we have the crotchet length note in the 2 and. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then in bar 7 we see it resolving because we've got the quaver crotchet pair where the second crotchet resolves on the beat, on the third beat. So we have 1 and 2 and 3 and. So we land on the third beat. So let's have a demo throughout of those. Now we do want to look out for in bar 5 where you got the two crotchet one after another. You do want to play them the right length. You might when you first played it, you might have played the second one in quaver instead of being a crotchet. Let's also have a look at coming into the piece. This is fairly simple with the piano. They're going to play a tune which is this. So that chord there essentially is the third beat of our fourth bar. So after hearing that, we can come in with our upbeat into bar 5. So here's the demo coming in. We have the same rhythm in bar 9 and bar 10 as we did in bar 7 and bar 8. When we get to bar 11 and 12, we have a new rhythm. It is similar to bar 5 and bar 6, but it's slightly different. We have in bar 11 the same thing we had, which is two consecutive crotchet length notes, but it's moved forward by a beat. So we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and in bar 6, the crotchet length note essentially becomes a dotted crotchet length note. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. On the upbeat to bar 13, we get the same starting 4 bars as we did in bar 5 to bar 8, this time louder in forte compared to the start in MF. At the end of bar 16, we get our first difference, which is a C natural as well as crescendo, decrescendo coming down to an MF. And then we have a new rhythm here in bar 17 to 19, similar to what we had before in bar 6, just that the last two quavers are now swapped to becoming a crotchet. So we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So one more time, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So this rhythm is used 3 times from bar 17 to 19. In dynamic terms, we are back to an MF on bar 17, crescendoing throughout bar 18 to get to a forte in bar 19. When we get to bar 20, remember we're playing the bar with number 2 on top, not the number 1, which brings us back to repeat to do the whole section again. The B section is where we're going to see a lot more chromatic scale snippets, as we can see immediately in bars 21 and bar 22. The majority of the rhythm here is quite simple and very similar to what we had previously in section A's. We are starting off quieter now in MP, crescendoing throughout bar 22, reaching an MF in bar 23. Now do look out for the notes in bars 21. You are going up chromatic from an A to a B, but when you reach the B, your next note isn't a C as you expect, but it is a jump to a C sharp. And the B sharp afterwards is a C note, so just look out for that. Now in bars 23 and bar 24 we do have a new rhythm. Now bar 24 is just a crotchet rest and then straight quavers. Bar 23 could be slightly trickier as we do have 3 quaver pairs which are separated by quaver rest. So we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That was bars 23 and 24. Bar 25 to 28 beat is quite simple. We just have 2 sets of 3 minimums and a minimum rest in mezzo piano, so we're quieter than we were in previously bar 23 and bar 24 in mezzo forte. And while we're doing the last minimum and the rest, the piano is going to play a melody to fill in that gap. So they're going to be playing with us during the 3 minimums, but during the rest they're going to have a little rhythm that is going to supplement with our resting here. Then we have the 4 same bars again in bar 29 to bar 32, where it's exactly the same as bar 21 to bar 24. The difference is that we're louder here and going from an MF to an F instead of going from an MP to an MF. After that, starting from bar 33, we're going to be doing our ending phrase, and we're going to do it in fortissimo, which is FF, so that's very loud. The rhythm here is very simple. Bar 32 is 1 rest and then 3 tenuous crotchet notes, so we need to make sure that they are the full length, not staccatoing them or making them shorter. In bar 33 and bar 34 we have 1 quaver rest and then the rest of them are quavers. You can break up the music and you can see chromatic scales and even a D arpeggio. So in bar 34 we have the chromatic, and then the D arpeggio coming down, and then chromatic in bar 35, and then another broken chord towards the end. Now we are also skipping the repeat sign here just to the last note, which was the broken chord there. Remember, we need to keep the dynamic strong and the accent on the last note. And that's the end of the piece. Well, that was the tutorial of the C2 piece, the St. Louis Rag by Tom Turpin. I really like the syncopation rhythm here, and once you get that, then the whole piece should really fall into place because the rest of the rhythm is fairly simple. There are some sections in the B section where it feels like the piano have left you, but don't worry, they will come back, and oftentimes the piano does play with you. Now, during the times where the piano have left you and you're doing a little flute solo, then it's a good chance for you to do a little show off on what you can do musically and dynamically on the flute on those passages. The dynamics isn't too difficult, but due to the lack of rest, you might have to cut some of the longer notes short, such as the dotted crotchet in bar 12. And if you do some quick and shallow breathing then throughout the piece, then you're set to go. Chromatic scales could be tricky, but keep practicing the scales and then you get this piece in no time. Hopefully that was useful to you. I'll put up the last piece soon for grade 3. Check out the other pieces that I've already done a tutorial on and the playlist for the grade 3 flute. Give a like and subscribe if you like what I did here. Put a comment down below if you want me to go over anything specific or if you want to share your own tips and tricks with your fellow viewers. I'll see you in the next video on Master of None. Bye!